What's up YouTube? I'm Mike and today I am back with another update video on my what started as test Tren this massive cycle. Test Tren Mast Deca Proviron cycle. We are now into week 20 and I have some fucking amazing news to finally share with all of you. The Tren God is on the mend. My wife just finished a cut of her own, and so she was gonna go get blood work. So I decided to go and get another update on my liver enzymes, which honestly I have not been wanting to look at because every single time I've gotten blood work, it's just been progressively worse, and I've been feeling better, and so I just didn't want any more negativity, and so I was kind of just casting a blind eye to it, and she was going in to get a little blood work, so we went together and I got my enzymes checked again, and finally I know it really in relatively speaking it didn't take that long. How long have I been out of the hospital?
Oh my, since Sunday, so a week and almost 2 weeks.
So I've been out of the hospital for 2 weeks after basically being diagnosed with drug-induced liver injury. In case you're coming to this video new, and so my liver enzymes were just climbing into the fucking stratosphere. And the last time I got them checked, my bilirubin was at 2.6, my ALP was at 465, my AST was 977, and my ALT was 361. So obviously that was very, very scary to see. I've never had liver enzymes anywhere near that range. I've talked about this quite a bit over the last few weeks, so I'm not going to beat the point to death. But the good news is I started feeling much better. As you know, I started getting back in the gym, eating more calories, and so it is really great to see these updated numbers. So the new numbers today, or as of yesterday, was my bilirubin dropped from 2.6 to 1.7, which means it's just a hair, it's almost back to completely normal, which is indicated by the fact that my eyes were not getting any more yellow, and I thought maybe they were actually getting better. That was the one kind of thing that I was watching the most to try to gauge, like whether or not my condition was actually worsening into the direction of maybe acute liver failure. I was not experiencing progressively more jaundice. Apparently, when your bilirubin gets to 3.0 or higher is when you start to see the really, truly sort of freakishly yellow eyes, and mine never quite got there. So my bilirubin was down from 2.6 to 1.7. ALP dropped from 465 to 389. AST dropped from 977 all the way down to 221. And my ALT dropped from 1361 all the way down to 746. So nearly cut in half. So when you look at the chart, the last time I got my blood work done really did represent like this acute spike. So the liver enzymes kind of were going like this, and then they spiked up and they spiked right back down, and now they're starting to trail off. So obviously, like relative to where they've been, I'm excited to shit. But relative to normal, we still have a long way to go. So basically, my ALT level as we sit right now is still 14 times the top end of the normal range. So it's still very, very elevated. I said this in my previous video. The highest my ALT has ever been is like 200, 250 from like a 6-week cycle of orals like Anadrol or Anavar or something. And when it got to that point in the 200s, my general was trying to pull a fucking liver biopsy because he thought I had something massively going on. So that kind of puts into reference how far out of line my liver enzymes still really are. At 200, he wanted to do a liver biopsy. I'm still at 746. So my liver is still definitely very inflamed. It's still very out of the normal range. But to see it drop in half in 1 week's time is really, really, really fucking inspiring. So hopefully these numbers will continue to crater and they'll go down really, really fast, and I can get back to some kind of normal. Rarely are my ALT levels perfectly normal due to the bodybuilding and all the supplementation, but I definitely want to see them come back down under 100 for sure. Somewhere in the high 40s, low 50s is usually where they hang out when I'm not taking any orals. So currently I'm not on anything that is hepatotoxic, and so we should, as long as my liver continues to trend in a positive direction, continue to see improvement. So as for the cycle, because all of this is going on, as I said last week, I made some changes to my cycle. So before I got sick, I was on 500 milligrams of Test E, 400 milligrams of Mast E, 200 milligrams of Deca, and 125 milligrams of Tren E, and 50 milligrams of Proviron per day. That also included 20 milligrams per day of MK677. So I took out, when my liver spiked all the way up, actually when I got out of the hospital, I chose I panicked, and I took the Tren and the Deca and the Mast out, and I already made a video about how bad of an idea that was. Taking that amount of gear out in one fell swoop sent me into a massive depression, and so I started putting things back into the mix. So where I've been at for the last week, what would encompass week 20 of this cycle, is 500 milligrams of Test E, 400 milligrams of Mast E. I put the Mast back in, and I put the Deca back in at 200 milligrams per week. So we've got 500 milligrams Test E, 400 milligrams Mast E, 200 milligrams of Deca, and I'm still off the MK677 and the Proviron. Now, how has this been going? I've gotten 2 workouts in the last week. My chest day went really well relative to how I've been feeling. My arm day did not go so good. My arm day was actually the last day that I really felt bad. So that may have been the point at which things really started to come down. I did arms 2 nights ago, and I was only able to complete about 80% of my workout, which would have been fine, except for the fact that I really had to push myself to even get that far. We had gone for a walk earlier in the day that day, it's like a third of a mile around my house, around like the loop around our block, and just from like slow walking with my wife and my daughter, when I got back, I just had to I had to sit down. Like I felt exhausted from a third of a mile walk. And so I was not expecting my gym performance to go good, and it didn't, which was really fucking disappointing. When I left the gym the other night, I had gotten my mind right, and I was feeling much more positive, and then I had that bad workout, and I really kind of went in the shitter again. And so thankfully, I don't know what caused it, but that seemed to have been the peak. The next day, which was yesterday, I ate substantially better. I've already been eating like crazy today. Yesterday was definitely the best I have felt since I got sick. I told my wife last night that basically I had not felt any of the signs or symptoms that I had been feeling since this illness started. None of the lethargy. There was a lot of weird shit that I was feeling that there's no reason to sit here and try to explain in this video. I just felt toxic. I would get very tired very quickly. I just felt weird. One of the ways I explained kind of how I was feeling all day was, if you've ever done like HIIT cardio or something where you run wind sprints like in the gym, like basketball practice or something, you've ever pushed your cardio really to the max, and when you stop and you kind of have your hands over your head and you're gasping for breath and your vision can kind of shimmer and you've kind of got this like kind of wavy feeling because you just really pushed yourself in a cardio sense. I kind of felt shitty like that all the time. it was like all day long I felt like I had just got through running wind sprints to some degree. Like I had some symptoms of just having really pushed myself cardiovascularly or whatever. And so it was obviously not good. I was really not feeling good the majority of the day, and just kind of trying to mentally push through. And yesterday, all of those symptoms were gone. I was able to eat a ton of calories. Well, not a ton, but a ton relative to what I've been eating. Get in a lot of fluids and really start feeling better. So tonight is a gym night. Tonight will be, I don't know if I'm going to shake it up or not. Technically, it should be shoulders and legs. That may be asking a lot. We'll just see how I feel when I get there. But I'm definitely looking forward to being able to try to have a healthy workout. So that's where the compounds are. Given the fact that my liver enzymes are returning to normal, that suggests that the maximum amount of damage that was going to be done, more or less, has been done. Obviously, they're still elevated, so there's still some inflammation. And so I'm undecided whether or not I'm going to put the Tren back in on my next. I usually dose test, then Deca Tren, then Masteron, then repeat, then a day off is basically how it works out. So I'm injecting 5 days a week with a day off. That's just how the 3.5 day, the twice a week injections works out with having those number of compounds. So last night I pinned Masteron. Today will be a testosterone day. Tomorrow would be a Deca day. So depending on how I continue to feel, I may reinsert the Trenbolone. I'm guessing if I put the Tren back, given the fact that my liver is still inflamed, I will probably not go over 50 milligrams. I'll probably put it back in at 50 milligrams a week, and then continue to get my blood work checked and see. Honestly, I'm so happy to see things return to normal. I may let the Tren run completely out of my system, since it's so close to being gone. I may just use this as an excuse to let it go and see what I really feel like psychologically when it's gone. Given the fact that I only run a small amount anyway, it'll come back really quick. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm not going to make any promises one way or the other. I could certainly go to the gym tonight and feel savage again and just be ready to fucking jab myself the next day with more Tren. So I don't have a lot to report as far as gym progress, because I've only been to the gym a couple days. What I will share with you is what's probably going. I don't know. I've never heard anybody say this. I have a theory that I'm working through right now about my weight gain, weight loss. So I'll go ahead and put that out in this video to tell you about the experiment that I'm trying to run and my logic, and see what the audience thinks. This is one of those rare times where I'm kind of interested to get other people's takes on a new theory that I'm working on. So the theory that I'm working on is that when I got sick, I was at 214 pounds with 6 visible abs. And then over the course of the 2 weeks or so that I was in and out of the hospital and really sick, and there was a lot of days in there where I did not eat anything at all. The only calories I got came in the form of like Vitalite, which I need to sip. Excuse me, I'm still working on my hydration. The only calories I was getting was in the form of whatever liquids I could get down. So I was in a very, probably sub 1,000 calorie a day for many of those days that I was sick. So obviously my weight dropped rapidly, but I fell from 214 to 190 pounds in like a week. I don't remember exactly the numbers. It was give or take a week. I dropped, 22 pounds? 24 pounds? That's 24 pounds. So I lost 24 pounds in about a week's period of time, which tells you mathematically that I could not there's no way I could have lost 22 pounds of muscle or fat. I could not possibly have lost 22 pounds of contractile tissue in that period of time, even if I'd been eating 0 calories a day every single day, which I was not. There was only a few days that I got, really, really restricted calories. So what we know mathematically is that a large portion of the weight that I lost was intracellular water and glycogen. And this is true in two forms. So when I got on the MK677 and my weight shot up like 10 pounds really rapidly, obviously that was not all contractile tissue. And so I'm working on a theory that if what we're dealing with here is water weight, if the weight that I rapidly gained was primarily water that would eventually, through the process, through metabolic processes and weight training and androgens, be converted into some contractile tissue, if the majority of what I put on was intracellular water and the majority of what I lost was intracellular water, the typical logic that I would go through after a massive weight loss doesn't really make sense. So I get home from the hospital at 190 pounds and I go, holy shit, I just lost a mountain of weight. I've got to force feed myself a giant amount of calories and train and use all of my androgens to build back up to 214. But the problem is I didn't lose 22 pounds of muscle. I didn't lose 24 pounds of fat. I definitely lost some fat, but let's say 70% of that body weight loss is water. If 70% of the loss is water, then food should not be what's necessary to put the weight back on. So I started developing a theory that the way to get the weight back is not just eating, but by massively increasing my fluid intake. So if my muscles, if the contractile tissue that I built is still here and it's effectively deflated, then I don't need a giant amount of calories and androgens to try to build more contractile tissue. What I need to do is force fluids back into the muscular tissue that's already here and reinflate it back up to 214 pounds. So typically speaking, I would just try to get in enough fluids to be hydrated. And I would be eating in a calorie surplus. What I'm planning on doing now is, while still eating in a calorie surplus because I want to gain some weight back, I'm going to try to stay in a perpetual fluid surplus where I am not just hydrating my body, but I am filling my body with as much water and electrolytes as possible to see if massively increasing my fluid and electrolyte intake in the presence of a stimulus like going to the gym won't possibly push that weight, that water weight and glycogen back into the muscles in a rapid pace rather than what it would normally, the length of time that it would normally take to try to build 22 pounds of contractile tissue. If what I lost in a week's period of time was water, it seems very likely that in a week or two of massively overdosing my fluid intake, I could replenish the water that I lost in an intracellular way. So that's the hypothesis. I've never heard anybody talking about, obviously when you're bodybuilding, you're supposed to be drinking large quantities of fluids. But I've always understood that to be coming from the perspective that because you're consuming, you're burning off more water. You're physically using more water. Now what I'm starting to wonder is if, in the presence of something like MK677 or just the bodybuilding or just the contractile tissue that I already have in my frame, if it has the capacity to hold a certain volume of intracellular water, and I got sick and I started getting massively dehydrated, and so my body started pulling all of the water and glycogen out of my cells to survive on, I don't want to just start, drinking 8 glasses of water a day. I don't want to go back to just drinking the minimum amount of water to be hydrated. I want to drink fluids in a surplus so that my muscles can reabsorb the excess back into intracellular tissue. That's the theory. We'll see what happens. I started trying to do this last night, and coincidentally, I reached the highest body weight that I've had since I've been out of the hospital, which was 193.4. So I was up a pound. What was that? About a pound, a little more than a pound from my previous day's high. So I've had nighttime highs as low as 191.6 pounds, and I pushed it up to 193.4 last night. And so I'm going to continue today to eat as many calories as I can, maximize the carbs that I can fit into my diet, and then again try to drink as much water as humanly possible, obviously in a healthy way, making sure that I maintain my electrolyte balance. So not just drinking water, but drinking like electrolyte mixes or sodas or something that's also going to come with plenty of calories and sodium, so that I don't upset the balance, and see if my muscles won't rapidly reabsorb, won't rehydrate in the same way that they dehydrated. And if that theory holds true, then I could get back very close to 214 extremely rapidly if my logic is correct. So basically that's the experiment that I'm going to be running over the course of the next week, which will at least give me something new to focus on, because obviously I'm not going to build contractile tissue at a rapid pace. And so that way we'll have something, I'll have something to update you guys on next week, run some kind of a novel experiment. I think it's novel. I've never heard about anybody talking about this. So maybe somebody in my audience is going to be like, well, yeah, dude, no shit. That's exactly what you have to do, is massively intake water. I've never heard or read about that, but if that is a known factor, then obviously that would be proof positive of my theory. If it's not known, if this is not something that's ever been talked about or published, then maybe we'll be doing some new science this week, and I'm going to pound the shit out of Vitalite and see if I cannot take my desiccated vampire state and reinflate it back to the Tren god status that I had at 214, with just the full fucking shoulders and back. A lot of you guys have said that you think I look really good in this state, and I appreciate those compliments. But when I look at that training video, when I look at that post-training video, and if you look at the last physique update that I posted, and you compare that to where I was at 214, you can really see it in my back. Like, the detail in my back looks phenomenal at this weight, but you can see the absolute lack of thickness. You can see how much fullness is gone. And when I put the tape on my fucking shoulders, and there's 2 or 3-inch difference, then obviously there it is. My biceps have shrunk. I haven't measured in the last day or so, but they were down an inch. That's a huge amount to lose on your biceps, to go from 18.25-inch biceps down to something just barely above 17. I mean, that's a fucking gut punch. And so if that's water, then let's get it the fuck back as fast as fucking possible. So that's what I'm going to try to do over the course of this next week. Obviously, I'm going to continue doing all of the things that I've been doing. I've been taking Tudka. I've been drinking, I started drinking coffee in the morning, because apparently that's really good at cleansing the liver. I actually need to go have a coffee today. I haven't had one yet. So I'm going to continue, obviously, doing all of the liver cleansing type of things that I've been doing. And I'm going to try my dead level best to stay off of the fucking Proviron, because I desperately want to go back on it already. But I'm going to try to resist that temptation. My sexual sensitivity has peaked. It's still very, very good. but it's not quite as acute as it was. So I suspect that's going to continue to return to a state of normalcy. Hopefully by the time it returns to completely normal, my liver enzymes will be sufficient, will have continued to fall, and will know that I'm in a healing state, and I can risk the Proviron, which of course is not supposed to be hepatotoxic at all. As for the MK677, I have as of yet been undecided as what to do. My MK677 basically, it didn't get ruined, but it got really fucked up. So I had a bag of 10 grams of powder that is now a blob of yellow gel. It got exposed to too much air, and it just turned into this, what looks like a melted piece of plastic. And so trying to dose it now is incredibly difficult. Because you basically go to try to scoop it with my little scoop, and it's just like taffy. It just comes off in these globs, and then it's hard to get off of whatever you have it stuck to get it into the scale. And if you don't eyeball it correctly, trying to remove a part of the taffy to get to a proper dough, I mean, it's a total pain in the ass. It was a pain in the ass to begin with. Now it's a total nightmare. What I would really like to do is solve it in some alcohol. So I would like to measure one time like a large dose and dissolve it in alcohol, and just, you know, drop that in a drink or something, which would be a tiny amount of alcohol I would be ingesting. But again, it's like, fuck, you know, my liver enzymes are 14 times the top end of the normal range. Drinking any amount of alcohol, no matter how small, just seems like a fucking bad idea. Like, I think I'm gonna wait. I have read that I can dissolve it in propylene glycol, or I think it's propylene glycol. I don't know. Somebody tell me what to do with this blob of MK677. It's just, I should have brought it in here so I can show you on camera. But it like I said, it looks like a yellowish to clear piece of melted plastic. It's just a gel. And it's incredibly hard to try to weigh and capsulize and put into capsules. So if you know of something that won't wreck my fucking liver, that I can dissolve it in and use like a dropper or something to dose it, that would be great, because I think the MK is the thing that would put the fucking the body weight back on me the fastest. I've tried GHRP6 a couple of times, and honestly, I don't love it. It's so much easier just popping the MK pill or the capsule. Pinning the GHRP6 does positively affect my appetite. Sometimes I feel flushed after I take it, and sometimes I feel a little like jittery or something. There's some kind of feeling. And a couple of times the night of that I took it, which would be like many hours later, I had a little nausea. I don't know if that was from the liver shit that I was dealing with or from the GHRP. Now that I'm feeling better, I might try one more dose of the GHRP and see if it causes the same kind of, if I get the nausea again, then I'll know for sure that that's what's causing it. I have only ever taken the GHRP one time. I've never actually used it twice in one day, or even approaching the maximum daily dosage to get the full effects. So I may be undervaluing what it can do just because I've been so fucking scared of everything. You know, when your liver enzymes are 1361 and you've got a doctor that's told you might be going into liver failure, it really doesn't inspire you to fucking tinker a lot. Like, just pinning the androgens has felt like tempting fate enough as it is. And so maybe I'll experiment some more today with the GHRP6 and see if that can't be something that I could use in the interim to get around this MK677. Obviously, I got my MK from QSC, and I will never buy their MK powder again. It's a total fucking disaster. So if somebody has a tried, true, guaranteed, good quality MK677 in pill form, hit me up in the comments, let me know, or on Discord ideally. I'm sure that some of the guys from Discord will see this and point me in the right direction. I really fucking love MK. But unless I can find something to solve or suspend this gel I have into, it's gonna be fucked. Thankfully, it wasn't expensive. So there you have it. That's basically what's been going on. I'm so excited to be making this video, knowing that my liver is on the mend. Hopefully it will continue to mend very rapidly. Hopefully my gym workout will be savage tonight. Hopefully my calories will continue to climb. And hopefully my waterboarding experiment where I'm gonna fucking basically just try to massively consume fluids will work and will just reinflate my body magically back to the state that it was in prior to all this disease. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.